you tell I'm in denial?
You can't stay at the top forever.
I was also very surprised when I looked at my phone and saw Joe Girardi dismissed.
Well, I think mine were with common sense.
I think now belongs in the all-time greats top 10.
Boston, I really think only got to this point because of a guy named Chris Middleton being out for the Bucks.
That power play just was unbearable. It was humming.
Man, am I happy. I knew that this was going to happen. I knew he was going to come back.
When I think of New York Yankees now is Judge, probably people in the past when Jeter was coming up.
I would be shocked. A little bit hurt.
Hey, this is Greg Tepper of Dave Campbell's Texas Football, TexasFootball.com, and Valley Sports Southwest. You are listening to Outsiders Opinions with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our NFL Opinions of the Week. Once again, we hinted at this yesterday as we talked about the first round. Here is the man who is a big You're a fan of both these quarterbacks on this team, the Atlanta Falcons, and we would have pushed this. Probably going to be a 10, 15-minute video, kind of programming note. We'll see how long it goes because, yeah, Austin, the man that loves both these quarterbacks.
Not together. I feel like it's I don't want to say wrong selection, but I don't get why you signed Kirk Cousins to make this decision. Like, I get that there are a lot of great QBs that sit behind players, but you don't know necessarily how you should have addressed defense. Like, your defense is not good enough to contend. A lot of those, like when when Jordan Love was taken, the Packers were good enough to win a title. I know they didn't address a wide receiver or address some of the positions, but the Packers could have won a title.
Yeah, and here's my thing is, you didn't, and when I say you, Packers, because you are a Packers fan, so I'm going to say this to you. You didn't just give a contract to Rodgers. Like, you're like, Rodgers is probably going to be done soon. Because the contract came after, or no? He was near the end of his contract, right?
Yeah, I think he said another 2-year deal.
Okay, 2 years isn't bad. And Jordan Love was young and raw. To me, why I like Penix so much and had him going to the Broncos is this is a quarterback where I think you could put him in now and you could be good on offense. It wasn't, this guy needs time. And he's also older, so that's why I felt he was a good guy to put in now. It doesn't. Do I like drafting Penix? Yes. I don't like it to a team that just signed a guy to 4 years. If Kirk Cousins on a 1-year, 2-year deal, maybe. However, it's a bad use of resources, which I think we've seen from the Falcons recently. I forgot they have the same GM. I didn't like Bijan. Like, I like the player Bijan. I think we had this conversation last year too. It was a bad use of picks. Like, a bad use of the chart of number 8. Now, if you take Michael Penix in the second round, don't hate it. Because it's a second-round pick. This is the 8th overall pick. I feel like I'm repeating myself because the 8th overall pick was used for Bijan. This is where you're supposed to get a guy that has a chance to be a Hall of Famer. Or a all-time All-Pro.
Well, it's just more addressing a position that is going to help you now, I feel like. I just don't get it. I don't, because it doesn't make sense for now. Yeah. And you don't have a good enough defense to warrant this selection. I feel for Penix, and I think it actually could be helpful for Penix to sit behind somebody that's a class professional that's been to Pro Bowls, that's been in the league for a very long time, and like Penix, came into the league as a backup. So he knows what it's like to be a backup and eventually become a starter. And I think we both believe in Penix's ability to become a starter in the NFL, but it just doesn't make sense for the timeline. They just signed Kirk Cousins to a 4-year deal.
Yeah, and I know Cousins was surprised, and I would be too. Like, why did you give me this money then if you're going to draft my successor when my career hasn't even started? And I think Kirk Cousins will be nice about it and be like, hey, I'll help you. I'll show you the ropes. It's just weird They didn't go, yeah, we're taking Penix. And I heard a little bit, I think it was on SportsCenter, the GM said the draft is for the future. Yeah, but the future is not 4 years in the NFL. You may be out of a job.
Yeah. I do find it. I don't know. I don't know. It was so. I would say of the last couple drafts, it's been the most surprising pick I think I've seen.
Oh, yeah. For sure. Because you could. So, like, when I first saw it, I'm like, oh, I like that. And then the more I thought about it, I'm like, no, this doesn't fit the timeline. Because Penix, if you go J.J. McCarthy at 8, okay, still don't like it, but it makes sense. Because take a raw prospect. Jordan Love was not a ready guy. I feel like Penix can start for any of these, for one of the 32 teams.
Yeah, I don't hate benching a quarterback though. It's just weird. It's not the time. The Falcons are maybe they're playoffs with Kirk, but they needed another player here to push them over the edge into an actual contender because you don't sign Kirk Cousins without trying to win a title. Like that's not the point is to do that. And you did not address the needs that you're going to have to address to win a title. Like I like your secondary regarding like AJ Terrell. I like their safety situation with Jesse Bates. I don't like their linebacking core. I think their D line besides Grady Jarrett is poor. Why were those not addressed?
Yeah, and I can see the argument. I was about to say this and I rambled off something different. Okay, if Cousins isn't healthy, he can start. But then that goes to, then why did you sign Cousins to a 4-year deal if you don't?
It doesn't make sense. That's a great point that you made because, we're just making sure we have a backup plan if Cousins isn't healthy. Do you realize how much money you just paid for him?
And you signed him to a 4-year deal. Like you've dedicated yourself.
It was 45, right?
Yeah, I think
it was 4 years,
go
180
up to 45. Yeah,
it's 4 years 180.
Yeah, it can go up to that.
Yeah, and I think half of it, or maybe a little bit more, is guaranteed. I don't get it.
You're also sorry. What were you gonna say?
I just feel like they are handicapping themselves.
And you're also spending more money on the quarterback position because it's the 8th overall pick. You're spending how much money is an 8th overall?
I don't necessarily know how much an 8th overall pick is, but here's something to think about. And you brought this up with the Packers, but I'll just bring it up here. Like, you're going to go from paying Kirk Cousins, let's say you pay him for all 4 of those years, and then Michael Penix is going to be your starter after 4 years. And that's fine. You can take 4 years off. But then you're going to have to pay Penix. That's his 5th year. That's his last year of his rookie contract. So if you really think Penix is that good, you get 1 year of rookie contract Penix. 1.
And here's another thing, because how old was... I think Jordan Love may be the closest thing in recent years to this, but this is worse because it was an 8th overall pick. Jordan Love they traded back in the first round and took him. I wasn't a huge fan of that pick either. I think, we recorded on this. Michael Penix is 23. He's about to turn 24. He's going to be 28 before he hits a field if it works. Like, Jordan Love, I think, was 20, right?
No. He was his rookie year, which was 2021, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, or I guess he didn't play in 2020. He was 22 when he was drafted. Or no, I guess he was 21 when he was drafted, but by the time the first season came around, he was 22.
Okay, so still a little bit on the older side, except Trey Lance, I think, is about around the same age as Michael Penix.
Michael Penix is 1 day older. 1 day older than Trey Lance. 1.
Yeah. It doesn't make... So there's not a road where I can go, this makes sense, because I'm like, then you missed this step. We're worried about Kirk Cousins' health. Well, you missed that step in free agency. It's not like Raheem Morris came in and this new GM came in, and they're like, we have Kirk Cousins here. We're going to go quarterback. No, you chose
You
to
brought him
get
in.
Kirk Cousins. Yeah, you brought him in. So it doesn't. There's not a lane. There's always something there. Like you missed something back there, and you can't blame it on someone else. This is on you to do this back reporting and not back reporting. Your due diligence because it just. And also, if I'm looking at the draft, the only picks I'm looking. You missed 2 offensive linemen. You had your pick of defensive players. Like you brought up the defense. You could have had any defensive player, and you chose to go quarterback.
Yeah, it's confusing. I'm definitely interested to see how this plays out. Do you think that we know that Kirk Cousins isn't happy, but do we think Penix is happy? He gets paid like an 8th pick, which maybe he didn't expect, but he will have to be on the bench for at least 2 years.
I think I'd be happy, but as a competitor, like you can't expect to compete for the job because he's got this money. The guy you're competing against.
Yeah, but I think Penix is happy just in the sense that of like the recent history of Patrick Mahomes and Jordan Love and all these other QBs that started on the bench for a whole year at least and then became a starter. And I don't think he's going to be Mahomes, maybe not even Jordan Love, but I do think that you do benefit from starting on the bench for a year. I think that matters, and I think we could see him grow. The problem is, again, the goal of this is not to build for 4 years in the future. The goal of this is to win a title.
Yeah. The goal, in my opinion, the goal of a first-round pick is to get a guy that can compete now or compete in the next year. Maybe 2 max. Like if you want to go Cowboys, Mozzie Smith. Year 1 developmental year. I'm expecting Mozzie Smith to get considerable amount of playing time and to earn it, not just because he's the first round pick, but a guy that has earned considerable amount of playing time in his second year. Penix could do that, but it's not worth it because you paid someone else, especially for the 8th round. So first round future is at the latest 2 years, earliest now. So it seems like a draft philosophy, and I don't think we see. To bring it back to the Falcons, of course the GM didn't want to bring in Bill Belichick because he wanted full control. But I saw this on Twitter. Can you blame Belichick for wanting full control if this is what the GM does for the Falcons?
That's a great question. I think Belichick would have asked for control anywhere, but I get what the point you're making. I get what you're saying.
And that's not exactly my point. I'm stealing this guy from Twitter, but I agree with it. Like, that's a funny, like, it's a joke, but also, yeah, what is this guy doing? Because if I had to bet on it, this guy does not have a job in 4 years. Or he's not at the same place as the Falcons in 4 years. Like
that will definitely be quoted for a intro if you're wrong. So
noted. I'll put it in the intro. Well, yeah, we're working on the intro. Okay, so he's named in 2021, so he's relatively new, but actually, okay, this makes sense. He was a assistant general manager for the Saints. The Saints make a lot of weird moves, so okay, but yeah, no, this guy's probably. Which if you're gonna do this, like, dude, what are you doing? So I think that's enough that we've done about. Any final thoughts?
No, you and I both don't like the move. We'll see how it pans out.
Yep. Thank you for listening. Let us know if you're a huge fan of this move. And did we hate on it enough, or do you hate it even more? We appreciate you listening, and thank you for listening to Outsiders Opinions.